Gallic youth, strong, battlefield experience, 1,200 denarii, sold. You couldn't run, you couldn't fight back. 3 days ago, you were free. Now you're standing in chains at Rome's largest slave market. They didn't ask your name, they measured your arms, checked your teeth, examined you like livestock. The man who bought you, he owns a gladiator school. 1 in 10 men who enter that arena dies. 1 in 5 if they lose their fight. You're 17 years old. Most gladiators don't make it to 30, 5 to 34 fights. That's your entire career. That's your life now. You didn't volunteer for this. You fought the Romans in Gaul. You lost. And losing meant this. What happened next changed everything. So how did Rome's death machine actually work? What was training like? And could anyone actually survive? Before we continue, hit that like and subscribe button. 3 ways to become a gladiator, none of them good. Prisoner of war. Your path. The Romans conquered your homeland. You fought back. You lost. Now you're property. Roman generals sold captives by the thousands. Julius Caesar's Gaul campaign alone, 1 million slaves flooded the markets. Strong young men with military experience went straight to the Lanistae, the gladiator trainers. You had 0 choice. Criminal sentence. 2 versions. Damnatio ad gladium meant death sentence. No training, just pushed into the arena during lunch break executions. You died in your first fight. But damnatio ad ludos, condemned to the games. You got training, you could survive, could earn freedom. The odds weren't great. Volunteers. Free Roman citizens who signed contracts. They called them octoratii. Why volunteer for death? Money. Successful gladiators earned substantial prizes. Some were discharged soldiers with no other skills, others drowning in debt. The contract lasted 4 to 5 years. Some former gladiators who earned freedom actually returned. It was what they knew. The money was good. If you survived. Women fought too. Gladiatrices. We have mosaic evidence. Historical records mention them. Most were slaves or desperate volunteers. Some elite Roman women joined for the thrill. Emperor Septimius Severus banned them in 200 AD. They were common enough to require an official prohibition. First day at the Ludus, you took the oath, the Sacramentum Gladiatorum. You swore to endure being burned, bound, beaten, and killed by the sword. You gave up all civilian rights. Even volunteers became legally enslaved. Some sources mention tattoos or brands, marking you as property, making desertion impossible. The Ludus wasn't a school. It was a fortress prison, 1 exit, facing the arena. Everything else? Walls, guards, control. The Ludus Magnus in Rome was largest, built by Emperor Domitian around 81 AD, connected directly to the Colosseum through underground tunnels, housed 100 gladiators in 2-story barracks. The courtyard held a practice arena, 2/3 the size of the Colosseum floor, even had bathing facilities. Romans loved their baths, even for slaves destined to die for entertainment. Over 100 gladiator schools across the empire at its peak. Vienna to Turkey. Training gladiators was profitable. A successful fighter could be rented out, earning the owner substantial fees. The gladiator got a fraction. Your owner, the lanista, was usually a former gladiator who survived long enough to retire. His job? Making you profitable. Keep you alive long enough to recoup investment, then profit from your fights. Training started before dawn, every single day. No rest days, no holidays. Physical conditioning first, running built endurance, strength training with heavy stones, weighted bags. Your muscles needed to become strong enough to deform your bones. Not exaggeration. Modern analysis of gladiator skeletons shows bone deformations, extreme muscle development, repetitive stress. Weapons training used wooden practice weapons, deliberately twice as heavy as real combat gear. Your wooden gladius weighed 3 pounds. The real sword, 1.5. Train heavy, fight light. When you got real weapons on fight day, they felt like nothing. You started with the pell, a thick wooden post driven deep into the ground. You hit it, over and over, thousands of repetitions. Attack, parry, thrust, block, building muscle memory until responses became reflexive. The pell didn't hit back, didn't tire, didn't complain. It just stood there while you learned to destroy it. Only after proving proficiency did you graduate to sparring. Blunted weapons, but injuries still happened. Broken bones, cuts, bruises. The doctors patched you up. You went back to training. You also learned javelin throws, sling use, mid-range combat, everything heavier than actual equipment. Here's what surprises people. You learned to swim. Roman military doctrine required it. Gladiators trained using military methods. Roman soldiers needed to cross rivers. You learned to swim in armor, ford streams while holding gear overhead, build rafts, cross rope bridges. You learned construction. Every gladiator could dig ditches, build fortifications, lay bricks, chop wood. You weren't just a fighter, you were a builder, a handyman, skills that kept you useful. Training happened twice daily, morning and afternoon, rain or shine. Some schools built roofed halls for winter. Can't let expensive gladiators get rusty. This hell lasted at least a year for new gladiators. Tirones, a full year before your first professional bout. About half who started didn't finish. They broke physically, mentally, both. They decided what type of gladiator you'd become, based on your body, your skills, what weapons you could handle. Murmillo. Heavy armor, large rectangular shield, bronze helmet with fish crest, sword arm protection, one-leg greave, fought like Roman legionaries, strong, defensive, matched against thraex or retiarius. Thraex. Medium armor, small shield, curved sword called a secutor, 2 tall leg greaves, high-crested helmets, fast, aggressive, aimed for unprotected areas. Back, legs, any weak points. Classic matchup against murmillo. Retiarius. Most distinctive, most vulnerable. Light armor, only a shoulder guard and arm manica, no helmet. Weapons were a weighted net, a trident, a dagger. Relied on speed and distance, trying to entangle opponents before moving in with the trident. Matched against secutor. Secutor. Developed specifically to counter retiarius, similar to murmillo, but with smooth, rounded helmet. Made nets slide off. Narrow eye slits prevented trident strikes to eyes. Limited vision made breathing difficult. Secutors had to end fights fast, before exhaustion set in. Hoplomachus. Greek-style fighters, spear as primary weapon, small round shield, heavy greaves with thigh guards, usually fought murmillones, Roman versus Greek warfare. Short and muscular, heavy armor class, tall and lean, light mobile classes like retiarius, good with nets, retiarius, strong and defensive, murmillo. You didn't choose, they chose for you, based on what made the best show, the best return on investment. You lived in barracks with 7 other men, your contubernum. This tent group became your family. You shared everything, ate together, trained together, fought together. Some died together. The diet? High carbohydrate, low protein, mostly vegetarian. Why? Roman doctors discovered this created a layer of subcutaneous fat over vital blood vessels and nerves. Shallow cuts bled impressively for the crowd, but weren't fatal. Good theatre that protected the investment. Breakfast meant barley porridge, beans, dried fruits. Pliny the Elder called gladiators hordearii, barley men, because they consumed so much of it. Lunch brought more barley, bean soup. Dinner featured barley pancakes, beans, maybe cheese if you were lucky. Successful gladiators with fan followings got treats, Better food, wine, occasionally meat from arena hunts, but most days, barley, always barley. You drank a bone ash mixture, charred wood and bone ashes mixed with water. Modern analysis confirms this built bone density, strength. It tasted awful. You drank it anyway. 3 regular meals a day. Gladiators were expensive investments. Owners wanted you fed, healthy, ready to fight. Medical care was surprisingly good. Schools employed professional doctors. The most famous was Galen. Started his career treating fighters in Pergamon around 157 AD. Wrote extensively about their diets and treatments. Wounds were treated and healed before your next fight. Broken bones set properly. Infections received treatment. You were property, but valuable property worth maintaining. Strict hierarchy existed within the Ludus. Veterans sat at the top, especially champions with established fan bases. Better treatment, better quarters, more freedom. Novices occupied the bottom, replaceable, expendable. Successful gladiators became genuine celebrities. Women reportedly paid for bottles of their sweat, used as perfume and aphrodisiac. Fans obsessed over famous fighters, bought souvenir cups and lamps with their images, followed their careers intensely. Some gladiators married, raised families. Memorial stones prove this, though technically slaves couldn't legally marry under Roman law, but it happened anyway. Between fights, gladiators worked. Bodyguard for wealthy Romans, debt collector, enforcer, personal trainer for nobles who wanted to learn fighting privately, all while waiting for your next arena appearance. Most gladiators fought 2 to 3 times per year. The rest of the time was training, waiting, living. The night before the games, the Cena Libera, the free meal. The entire Familia Gladiatoria attended, even the condemned, the Noxi, criminals sentenced to die. Everyone ate, drank, said what might be final goodbyes. It was also publicity. The public could attend and watch, drumming up interest for the next day's games. Morning of the fight brought the procession, the pompa. You walked into the arena fully armed, lictors led, carrying fasces, bundled rods symbolizing power over life and death. Trumpeters played, images of gods were carried in. A scribe attended to record outcomes. Someone carried the palm branch awarded to victors. The crowd roared, thousands watching, waiting for blood and spectacle. Most fights lasted under 30 minutes. Some ended in less than a minute. Longer, fiercer contests impressed crowds, might save a defeated fighter's life. The combat itself was brutal, chaotic, not the organized, choreographed duels you see in movies. Close quarters hacking, stabbing, grappling in sand and blood. You aimed for weak points, gaps in armor, joints, eye slits in visors. Your training kicked in, reflexive responses, muscle memory taking over. But your opponent trained just as hard. If you dominated and won cleanly, the crowd loved it. If you lost but fought with courage and skill, the crowd might demand you be spared. Your fate literally hung on their approval. The final decision belonged to the editor, the person sponsoring the games. He had absolute say, but he listened to the crowd. Smart politics, angering thousands of spectators, was terrible for your political career. The thumbs up or down gesture probably didn't work how Hollywood shows it. Hand gestures varied. An open palm possibly meant drop your weapons. A closed fist might mean kill. Other signals existed. The famous thumb thing is questionable historically. If granted missio, you lived, you left the arena, you'd fight another day. If denied, your opponent finished you. Quick thrust to the neck, throat, another vital spot. Death was supposed to be swift, professional. 1st century under Augustus, 1 in 10 chance of death each time you entered the arena. 1 in 5 if you lost the fight. Evidence from Pompeii shows that out of every 5 fights, 1 typically ended in the loser's death. 20% mortality rate for defeated gladiators. By the 2nd and 3rd centuries, death rates increased. 1 in 4 defeated gladiators died, 25% mortality rate. Most gladiators fought between 5 and 34 times before dying. Average death age was 27 years old. Most died between 20 and 30. Your first fight was most dangerous. No fan base, no crowd support. New gladiators were replaceable, but veterans with loyal fans, editors thought twice before killing them. Bad for future ticket sales. Typical career lasted 3 to 5 years, 6 to 15 total fights. If you survived that long, you might buy your freedom or earn it through exceptional performance. Some lived longer. Historical records mention one gladiator who survived 150 bouts. Another died at age 90, presumably long after retirement. One retired gladiator died at 60. These were rare, extremely rare. The wooden sword, the rudis, symbolized freedom, granted to exceptional fighters. It meant retirement from the arena. Some used it to become trainers. Others left gladiator life entirely, never looked back. But most gladiators died young, in the arena, buried in mass graves in gladiator cemeteries outside the cities, often buried in groups. Memorial stones marked successful fighters. Nothing marked the failures. Your life as a Roman gladiator, captured or condemned or desperate enough to volunteer, enslaved, trained brutally for a year, fed barley until you were sick of it, fought 2 to 3 times yearly. Each fight risked death or crippling injury. Most died before 30. If you were exceptionally skilled, incredibly lucky, popular with the crowds, you might survive 10 fights, 20 if the gods truly favored you. Earn your rudis, walk free, but probably not. Probably you died in the sand, your blood soaking into the arena floor, while the crowd cheered or jeered, not really caring, just wanting entertainment and spectacle. Some gladiators became legends. Their names survived on memorial stones, graffiti, souvenir cups. Most were forgotten the moment they fell, replaced by the next batch of prisoners and volunteers and condemned criminals. That was the reality of life as a Roman gladiator. Property, entertainment, fuel for the machine that kept Roman crowds satisfied and Roman politics stable. If you made it to the end, hit like and subscribe for more history that doesn't sugarcoat the truth.